everyone, Josey here. I hope everyone is staying warm and able to get some riding in this winter season. Today I have Gilly here with me and we are going to go over some brush boots and polo wraps, how to wrap them, and the purpose behind them. So without further ado, we will start with our brush boot here. When putting on a brush boot, you want to make sure that if there are two Velcro straps, that the first ones that you will Velcro, they will face towards the tail, like this. And the reason for that is because when I pull this Velcro strap, I'm pulling against the cannon bone. If I were to have this on the other leg, I would be pulling against the tendons, and that's not good. The tendons are very fragile, if you will, and that can cause some serious damage. So you pull against the cannon bone here. And you are going to pull almost as tight as you can so that the boot doesn't go anywhere. And these straps here for these particular boots, I just lay it across. I don't put any pressure so that I'm not pulling against his tendons back here. And I can see that when I try to move it, it doesn't go anywhere, so that I know that this is a nice and tight brush boot. And the reason why we use these boots is because they protect the inside of his legs from his hooves and his shoes when he's jumping or like out on cross country, even doing flat work, but you cannot have boots on in your dressage test. But for practice, you are more than welcome to use them. They're basically just a protective aid, and they have this shell that causes or acts as a little bit more protection compared to a polo wrap that I'm going to show you next. Right, so the next thing that we have here is called a polo wrap. Polo wraps are, again, like the brush boot, used for protection, except it doesn't have an outer shell, so it's not as protective. Like if his shoe were to hit it really hard, it's not going to have the same effect as the brush boot, but they are very beneficial for show jumping, polo cross, flat work. Again, you can't use these in your dressage test, but for purposes of practice, you are more than welcome to use them. They also help keep sand and dirt off of their legs because of all the layers compared to a brush boot. The one discipline specifically that these are not allowed for or with at all is cross country, and that is because it can be very dangerous if the layers become unraveled or it's not wrapped properly. They can trip up the horses, cause bandage bows, and when you are out on cross country, more than likely you will be going through water, and these are not water resistant because they are cotton. So when we are wrapping our polo wrap, I like to start on the inside middle of his leg, and when I wrap, I'm starting wrapping towards the tail. You don't want to be wrapping starting facing his head because that's pulling against the tendons, and that is a good way to have some bandage bows. So starting pulling against the the cannon bone here towards the tail. I hold on to the other end and I just lightly wrap around the tendons. I'm not gonna pull. I want this tight, but I'm not gonna pull yet. This is not the place to pull. Now, when I get here at the cannon bone, I'm pulling against the cannon bone tightly because I do not want these layers to unravel or move anywhere. Again, just wrap lightly around the tendons, and I'm coming around the cannon, and I'm gonna pull. Now, you can kind of see my different layers. I want them to be as even as possible so that I have even pressure across his leg. I don't want uneven pressure anywhere on his leg because that can cause bandage bows. So I'm gonna keep going. And then I get here at his fetlock area, and I am gonna pull on at a little bit of an angle. So I'm pulling up on the bottom part to cup underneath of his fetlock. And I come around the front and create a V right in the middle of the front of his leg. And this part right here is where I find people will have their polos unravel the cupping wrap. I want to make sure that this next wrap, that the edge is in the middle so that there isn't any movement, and that this wrap right here is secure, and this is as well. Again, pulling against the cannon tightly and just wrapping around the tendons. And making sure that my spacing is nice and even as I come back up and finish off my wrap. And when I finish, I want my Velcro to be on the outside of his leg, just like this. I want it to finish on the outside, and it takes practice. It doesn't always finish on the outside, and if it were completely on the inside, I would probably redo it just so that he doesn't brush and undo the Velcro. So the most important things when you are doing a polo wrap is to make sure that there is even tightness, even spacing, and no wrinkles in your wrap. Those are all big factors that come into the polo wrap causing damage to their tendons, or can be more likely for them to unravel and move. But that is how you do your polo wrap and your brush bandage. I will see you next time when I cover a stable bandage.